Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Gone up to
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem. Just waiting for my wife.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, there she is.
Humble obeisances.
Jai, glory to Prabhupada. Should we just say the Mangalacharana?
Yeah, sounds good.
Do you want to say it, Maharaj?
Okay. Jayam, well, we'll start off with Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur and Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raguna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhunam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Pre Vanchakopati Vishya Kripa Sindhu Bhyeva Chavaditnam Pavaneva Vaishnavebhyo Namo Maha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm sorry I'm a little hoarse today. My voice keeps going in or out, you know.
Not to worry. Could I share a screen there, Maharaj?
Yeah, I don't have to make a co-host. I did some research, and there's another thing you can do that allows people to share screens without having to make a co-host.
Okay, brilliant.
You should be
In
able.
that case,
But one thing I would suggest is that when we're doing discussions, that you unshare your screen, because what I discovered last time was that the entire session was this big white screen that mostly we weren't really looking at, and our little tiny faces on the kind of side where, you know, you sort of pop in there at the very side.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't really need to share it. If you've got copies of this, I think you have, right?
Yeah, I do. I have mine up even. But,
yeah. So we don't necessarily need to have me sharing it. Would that be okay?
Well, how about the others? I have a copy of it right here.
Yeah. And Vrinda, you've got one, right? You're muted, Vrinda.
I've got one on my phone because you sent it, so I can just hold my phone and look on my phone, no problem.
Is that okay? Oh, brilliant. Okay, so I'll stop sharing and we can just see each other's smiling faces. Who's Gail?
Oh, Hare Krishna, Gail. How are you doing?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Looks like
she's from far away New Jersey, which is there's a different language they speak over there and everything, you know.
Okay. So I'm just going to go to the document. Last time, I think we got as far as Shastra describes the experience we should be having if we're doing it correctly. Did we do that?
We did. I think we were doing what, each three, and so Someone
Yeah.
did 3, and then Parabhakti did 3. I forget who did the first. It was Brinda did the first
I did
3.
this. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So now we as we resume today, we're on if this is not our experience, that's the next bullet point, I believe, right?
I'm looking for that. This is not our experience. That's why I always number things, because it makes it really easy to.
Yeah, it's a good point. Next time.
Bullets are. Oh yeah, okay. If this is not our experience, okay, I got that. That's where I'm supposed to start reading.
Yeah, if you could read that, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Maurice.
Okay, but let me zoom in on it a little bit so it's a little easier to read. Oh, come on. Oh, W-I. Okay, here we go. If this is not our experience, we need training in the culture of Shastra discussion. I assume this is Bhagavatam 3.3.6.
Yes, correct.
Unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.3.6. If a person is actually executing devotional service, then he must be happy. If he's not happy, then he's not doing properly. So first thing is this: he might be doing something in the name of devotional service. If he's actually rendering devotional service, then he must be feeling. Just like if you're eating actually, then you must feel strength and satisfaction of your hunger. You cannot say, I'm eating, but I'm not satisfied with my hunger. That is impossible. This is impossible. This is not possible. Then you are not eating, or you're eating, but it is being devoured by worms within the intestines. You go on voraciously eating, but you don't get strength because the eating substance, the essence, is taken by the worms. Therefore, the worm treatment is there to kill the worms. Otherwise, they will eat everything and you'll feel hungry, but you will not get any strength. This is worm disease. So if I'm actually rendering devotional service and I'm not getting any happiness, that means there is some Maya's play. Otherwise, there's no such reasoning. He must feel happy. Then he has to rectify the process of his service, not to change, but to rectify the process. That's Prabhupada's lecture, November 29th, 1968.
Fantastic. Can we see you, Gail, by any chance? Do you have is it possible for your video to work? So does anyone have any questions or?
I'm sorry. In a little while, I was muted. Yeah, in a little while, I'll turn on my video.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no problem. It's a beautiful picture, though, mind you. Beautiful deity. It's nice to see the deity.
Where is that deity, Gail?
That's Gauranga in Echo Village.
Echo Village. Yes. Oh.
Yeah, Gauranga. Yeah.
So does anyone have any, points or questions or discussions here? I mean, I'm not sure if my wife would like to say anything.
Actually, I'm sorry. I wasn't there the last session, and now I see that you're reading from something, and I'm like kind of lost. I don't know what is being read from or something.
Okay. Let me just briefly explain what we're doing. We're proposing to start regular Shastra discussions, but before we start them, we just want to run through the basic principles and the methodology by which we're going to do that, because that's all found on a website called improvingsangha.com. And I don't know if you've seen it previously, but I would recommend have a look at that. Okay.
You could drop the URL in the chat and she can copy it, or even just go to it right there.
Yeah, we can put that on the chat. www.improvingsangha.com. And there it is. So then you can have a look, and I would recommend you have a glance through that website really first, and the 16 principles and the useful tips. What we're doing at the moment is talking a little bit about those useful tips, which will be the method, the process by which we discuss. So we're going through just some quotes from Srila Prabhupada, which support the procedure that we're hoping to implement. We may finish that today, in which case we'll begin the discussion. If not, then next session probably will commence with the Bhagavad Gita and start putting them into practice.
Krishna Dharma,
yeah.
is the document that we're reading, is it available online as well, or should we pop that to Gail somehow?
Yeah, we can send that to Gail. It's not online. I just really made this for our initial discussion together, but it's really just a segment of the useful tips. It's not even all of them, but some of the key ones that we just wanted to go through.
But it has a lot more. It has a lot of backup to each tip, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
doesn't seem to be in the tips on the website.
That's correct. Yeah. So we're just trying to show the support for the what we're doing, from Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. May I just say, all the quotes we got on this little document is on the website under the principles.
Yeah.
And we just took a little flavor to try to present the point that, it does require training, because that's what we're proposing to do. So what we should be experiencing, I think we've covered some of the things, and if we're not, then what was proper solution? Proper solution is training. So all the quotes are there on the website, but we've just tried to take a few, just give a flavor.
Okay.
Maybe if someone has Gail Prabhu's
yeah, I'm going to drop
email.
it. I'm trying to find out and dropping it onto my WhatsApp Chandra programs, and she can pull it up from there. But I'm trying to remember where I put it.
I'll send it to you again on WhatsApp. It was in our little WhatsApp.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So these quotes here are really just what we've over the years of practicing devotional service in our own experience and seeing in the lives of others. Quite frequently, they've been practicing for many years, and they're feeling frustrated. They're feeling, that somehow the process is not working. As we know, there's a pretty big attrition rate. We lose, so many people over the years, and we thought, well, an important element is not there, is missing, which is the association of the pure devotee, meaningful, deep association with obviously Srila Prabhupada, who is our pure devotee. And so, that's what kind of inspired us to start trying to teach this, because we felt ourselves the benefits and from actually doing these discussions, from getting that connection with Prabhupada through his books by applying the principles that we gleaned from his teachings. I think my wife wanted to say something about that in particular.
Thank you. You can read my mind. I just wanted to, because the way my husband expressed what our mission in life is now, I just didn't want to create a misunderstanding. We didn't set off to train anyone. We didn't set off to solve any problems in ISKCON. We were just, at least I was, in personal crises and on my way out. And we just, my husband just kept putting Prabhupada lectures on. And the things I was hearing from Prabhupada, because I had invested 15 years of my life, the most productive years. We had 3 children, and it was like I was finished. So I thought, rather than break up the family, some of the things I heard from Prabhupada that impacted me, I thought, okay, I went to him and said, let's try applying this. And within 5 years of trying to apply it, our whole lives changed. My faith came back very strong. And then when we moved to the manor, and I was speaking to other ladies and realizing that many of them were going through the same crises I was going through, I just very shyly at first began sharing with them what had helped us. And I realized it does work. It wasn't just us. It does work. So now, after many years of it working for us and working for the few friends we have in our own circle and community here back to Cintamani, we're thinking, let's see if we can offer it, and if any senior devotees would appreciate this. So it's not like we set off to solve any problems of ISKCON. We set off to solve our own problems, but we realize this is very powerful.
Thank you. So that's really where these two quotes here that are coming from.
Actually, Gail, I forwarded from our WhatsApp for SABHA discussions, Shastra discussions, to my Chandra Swami programs WhatsApp, and you can pull it off of there if you want.
So I'm wondering, what is the relationship between the website improvingsangha.com and what you just dropped in the Chandraswa?
As Krishna Dharma was just saying, it's a smattering, a small excerpt from what's on the thing. So if you want to be reading what we're reading from at the same time, then it's probably better to go to
what you put in the chat just now.
Either way, you can go to Chandraswa or you can go to what's in the chat. I think both of them. Well, what's in the chat
is just the website. It will have way more than on this on this document. Yeah, it'd be hard to find where we're reading.
Okay, so actually, where should I be going right now?
The document.
The document, and that's on my WhatsApp. Chandraswa programs.
Let me go there.
Right.
Let me go there. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you'll see it's open or save as. You can click either one of those, but you probably want to save it eventually. So you can click save as.
Okay, I'm seeing the document that says improving our Avada Shastra discussions now.
That's it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, we've got somebody else, Babita, here. So
yeah, who's Babita? Is that
probably someone else from New York?
You've told a few people, Maharaj?
Yeah, I told a few people. I hope that wasn't the wrong thing to do.
It's okay.
I asked you, so.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you were actually going to invite them, but that's okay. It's okay, fine. Yeah, probably best if they kind of observe what's going on first, so they get a feel of what we're all about in this session, and then we can communicate with them and try and help them to understand what it's all about. I don't think they've seen the website yet or anything like that, so that's quite important before we can really participate. But they can observe today. That would probably be the easiest thing to do, if that's okay with them, with Babita and Gail. Okay. All right. So just on these.
I mean, for me, I'm fine to observe.
Thank you. And so just on this last quotation, does anyone have any?
Babita was just going to say something.
Oh, sorry about that, Babita. Go ahead.
I'll just observe. I will not participate. I'll just observe.
Okay, thank you, Babita. Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to exclude you. It might just be difficult. That's all. Did you finish speaking, Cintamani? You did. Okay. So shall we move on to the next point then? Our proposal. Would you like to read that, Vrinda?
We propose, Krishna Dharma and Cintamani propose to train you, which is us, to apply the principles underpinning effective Shastra discussion that we have heard from Srila Prabhupada and applied to our mutual benefit. We will help you distinguish between understandings and responses. When should I stop reading?
Just read 3 of them.
Okay. Suppose you hear something of the Bhagavad Gita and it appeals to you, or even does not appeal to you. Just try to think over what Bhagavad Gita says, how Swamiji has discussed the matter. Apply your arguments, apply your logic. Don't take it as a sentiment or as a blind faith. You have got reason, you have got arguments, you have got sense. Apply it and try to understand it. Neither it is bogus, it is scientific. Then you will feel. Tads Joshanad of Apavarga, Vartmani, Shraddha, Retir, Bhaktir, and Nukramaya Mamishiti. You will gradually develop your attachment for hearing it, and devotional service will be invoked in your heart. Then gradually you will make progress. We will help you.
may I just say something here? Sorry, because these are the things we're going to propose. Maybe we can just do one at a time.
Yeah, okay, let's do
so
that.
we can just explain why we gave that quote in connection to distinguishing between understandings and responses.
Yeah.
So in our mind, when we heard this, we were just listening to Prabhupada, when we heard this, and then we subsequently applied it in this way. Prabhupada says, first ask, what is Swamiji saying? So that is the understanding, not my response, not my argument, not do I agree or do I disagree, not my objections, just what is Swamiji saying in my own words. And we have other evidences, other place where Prabhupada says, in your own words. So that's why we make a distinction between understanding and response. We first understand. Prabhupada says, first ask, what is Swamiji saying? Then you can put your argument. So that's one of the things that we began doing, and we've found it's really helpful, and one of the things that we're going to encourage you to do.
Does that make sense? It's key to the discussion. The first thing is to really understand the difference between an understanding and a response. Most people, you know, when they go to respond, when they go to understand, rather, first time they attempt to do that, they'll say, well, this is a really good point. I've heard this before. It's like, that they make judgment statements. They make, assessing what they've read and giving their response to it, what they think about it. That reminds me of something that Prabhupada said, and but it's not. They're not necessarily connecting with the point fully. Because when we read, we don't always really understand it properly. And then we immediately start responding to what we think we've understood rather than, going deeper. Yeah, Brinda.
First, I'm going to try to do what we're supposed to be learning and reflect what you just said a little bit. But then I have a question. But so what you just said is that and Cintamani has said is that the first step is to understand what has been said. And if I'm understanding correctly, what you're teaching us as a scientific method is not to just go fast through that and say, okay, I think I understand that now. I can just move to judging it or asking my question, but to actually out loud say it, right? Is that
perfect.
The thing?
Perfect
that
understanding. I think you must be a natural at this because you just got it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, that's what we're trying to do. You had a question?
Well, I think I put it in at the end there that you do want us to say our understanding.
Yes, indeed.
You don't want it to just whiz by as think we did it.
And the reason for that is because we serve each other in the discussion by helping the thinking process. In other words, we'll reflect back what you've said in our own words, try and capture what you've said, your meaning. And then this is where the magic starts coming in, because when someone does that to you, you find that the thinking process is really assisted. We called it psychological air. We got that from one of these, self-help gurus, Stephen Covey, actually. But it's such a good term that really does describe what happens when someone understands you. And then you think, oh yeah, that is what I said, and you've understood me better than I, put it in words better than I did myself. Now, and it enables them to go perhaps even deeper into the understanding. So we'll do that. We'll say, I'll understand them, and then say, would you like to say more? And then give them the opportunity before we say anything of our own. So that's how the process will unfold. All right.
So I guess at least the first step of this process is to reiterate, as Brinda was just saying, reiterate what the speaker had just said, whether it's directly quoting from Prabhupada or directly quoting from the speaker, and trying to condense it down. And then from that point, we go on to some other tangent or whatever we're going to add or further explicate or whatever it is. So this whole process is kind of a different process than the way most people go through Prabhupada's books. This process is kind of slower, more methodical, and first we're going to hear, say, a snippet of what Prabhupada has written in his books. We're going to explain what it says, and then collectively we're going to try to understand it and look at it from several different points of view. That's kind of, in a nutshell, the overall methodology.
Mm. Did you want to respond to that, Cintamani? Did you put your hand up?
I wanted to thank Maharaj because you put it so well. You actually, at least for me, gave me a chance to expand. That's how you understood me. Gave me a chance to expand because you were saying the process depends on understanding the other person's understanding Prabhupada. So by you saying that, it allows me to think my thoughts through a bit. So it has two parts. The person we start with understanding Prabhupada, but then everyone else serves us by reflecting back what we said without adding their own. So one person understands Prabhupada and everyone else serves them. It goes very slowly. You're completely right in that, but it goes so deep and so fulfilling. Then when that person has been fully understood and they think, yeah, I've got everything I can out of this, then if anyone else understands it differently or understands something in addition to what that, then they get a chance to understand Prabhupada. We always first start with connecting with what Prabhupada is saying, and then everyone will serve that second person. So you may have 5 people in the group and 5 different understandings of what Prabhupada is saying, and each person will get a chance to say how they understand it, and everyone else will serve them to allow them to go deeper into their understanding. So thank you for allowing me to add that little bit there.
Brenda, did you have your hand up?
Well, I did. And at first I thought it got answered. And now I'm thinking I maybe still want to wonder about it. So if I'm understanding correctly, as the responses to what Prabhupada wrote are being, or no, they're not responses, they're understandings of what Prabhupada wrote or said are being shared. The hearers of that will serve everyone involved by reflecting back what they got, what they understood from it, and hopefully accurately and with a crisp and clear reflection, not too distorted. And there will be different understandings. Cintamani was 5 different many different understandings will emerge. My question was, what if some of those, one or more of those understandings are just plain wrong? What then?
Wonderful. What a great question. Sorry, I don't know if that. Yeah, I'm getting excited. I can steal my husband's thunder. Do you want to respond
to my question?
You were responding. No, that's okay. To that, no, it's good. Yeah. So I was just joking. Yes. What if they're wrong? You're saying, there may be different understandings, and it could be that some of them are just plain wrong. So how would we deal with that? Is that basically the essence of your question? Yeah. I mean, I'll answer. I think my wife might want to say something also. I just want to say, when we start the actual discussions, my wife will take the lead in coaching because she's like the expert on that. She's spent more time doing that than I have, teaching and coaching the actual discussion process. So yeah, that's why I'm bringing her in from the start. I hope everyone's okay with that. She's very, very good. But yeah, just that my response to your question is that that generally speaking, it's not like we do get a diverse number of understandings. Mostly they're very similar, if not the same. Sometimes there's different perspectives. And my wife was just saying it's possible, there's a potential that everyone could have a different understanding, although that very rarely occurs, that kind of thing. But, there may be some nuances of difference of understanding. But in the process of discussing, you reflect back what the other person has said. And then that's it. you give them an opportunity to say, or would you like to say more? What can often happen is when they hear their own understanding repeated back in different words, make it more explicit perhaps for them, they may change it. They may think, oh, actually, I'm not sure about that. And even if they don't, then the other person gives their light. And I've had this happen to me so many times, the other person's light, and I thought, oh, that's a better understanding, actually. Yeah, I think that is what Prabhupada meant. I don't think I got that right, So that can happen, and that often happens in the process. But sometimes you may end up with two different perspectives, or and that can be okay, because we last week we're going through the quotes, right? We saw that Prabhupada said, "See it from different lights." So there's that possibility that there can be different lights. I don't know if my wife wants to add anything.
Yes, please. So my husband was saying how normally the lights are very similar. That's because our main discussion partner is each other. And over the years, we have become very like-minded. But you could have very, very different lights. And I just would like to use as an example the Yamunacharya verse that Prabhupada cites in 262. That whenever I think of the thought of a sex life, I spit at the thought. And I'm told, luckily I wasn't there at the time, but I'm told by many of Prabhupada ladies who were in some of the temples in America in the 60s or early 70s, that brahmacharis in their temples would spit at the brahmacharinis as they walked past them in the hallways. And they cited this as their evidence. So obviously, they had read Yamunacharya's prayer, and whether we like it or not, we're going to interpret, and they had interpreted it to mean that if I see a woman who makes me feel sexually agitated, I should spit at the woman. And that's what they did. Now, what we're proposing, people may have wrong understandings, but let them say it aloud and treat them respectfully. If someone says something and you immediately jump down their throat, that's wrong, that's rubbish, oh my God, that's so off. What you do is close down the emotion, you create emotional barriers. So even if someone's saying something completely absurd, we'll understand them, put them what they're saying in our own words better than they said it themselves. So we'll say, so you're saying we should spit at other Vaishnavis. Put it in our own words. These are not just women, these are Vaishnavis. We should spit at the Vaishnavis. We should spit at the Lord's Pujari. We should spit at Prabhupada's book distributors. So let them hear that. If that's not enough to change it, then as my husband said, we get our chance to reflect back what we understand. I understand Yamunacharya saying he spits at his own thoughts, not at the woman. If that's not enough to change it, when we go to responses, we very courteously say, I found your take on this very interesting, but it raises some doubts for me. How would that sit with Vaishnava Aparad? So we raise doubts, then we have to support our statements based on Shastric evidence. We bring out Shastric evidence that to spit at a Vaishnav or Vaishnavi is Aparad. So I think through the whole discussion process, without ever once telling the other person, that's absolutely absurd, you're so out of it, without ever saying anything like that, but treating them very courteously and with validating, we give people the best chance to change. We're certainly not going to do it unless they get a chance to say what they're hearing.
Does that make sense, Brenda, Mataji?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Any other points there? Shall we look at the next one? Which is, we will help you understand in your own words. Do you want to read that, Maharaj?
Okay. We will help you understand in your own words, so you capture meaning and move away from parrot repetition. Okay, so here's the quote from a lecture from Prabhupada, April 7th, 1975. So one who is spreading Krishna Upadesh, simply repeat what is said by Krishna, then you become Acharya. Not difficult at all. Everything is stated there. We have to simply repeat like a parrot, not exactly parrot. parrot does not understand the meaning. He simply vibrates. But you should understand the meaning also. Otherwise, how can you explain? Lecture, April 7th, 1975. I should go on, or that's where I should
No, that's fine. We can just pause there for a moment.
Okay.
Does that raise any questions or thoughts before we say anything?
It reminds me of a time when I was in New Zealand and they had a parrot, and the parrot would go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He didn't quite get the mantra right. And he went, Jai Prabhupada, you know. It was really hilarious that this parrot would do that, you know. It was in Christchurch. The parrot was in Christchurch, and he was always around, you know. You would hear him in the tree or something like that saying. He would say it that way, of course, in a parrot voice, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Parrot, not to parrot. Prabhupada, I think, you know, because if you just repeat like that, like the parrot with no idea what it's saying, what it's talking, you know, just repeating the sound vibration. And that often happens when people first begin to try and understand Prabhupada's words, you know, they'll just sort of reposition them and just, you know, or paraphrase. So it's virtually identical to the sentence that Prabhupada has used. But when you have to put it in your own words, then you've really got to engage with it and think about it. And what did he actually mean? And try to bring out that, you know, deeper meaning. That it's so easy just to repeat the words back. At least that's something. at least you've heard it, but you may not have understood it. So it's very important that we use our own words.
And this is why over the years, we've discovered that people actually need coaching, because it's really difficult for them to break out of the habit of just saying what Prabhupada said. It's like, but I understood it. But if you can't not use any of his words, and synonym substitution is not always enough. Sometimes we will let that pass. But you've really got to capture meaning and put that without repeating his words. And it's hard for people sometimes to distinguish between that and a response. So that's why we've realized that to get people to change their habits, they need a little one-to-one coaching or two-to-one coaching to gradually change habits. Because if we don't change habits, we'll continue to get what we're getting, and we'll be, you know, that's fine if we're happy with what we're getting. But we can get so much more if we, at least we feel, if we change these habits. So it does require a little coaching.
Mm. Okay, on that point, shall we move to the next one? Brenda, do you want to read the next one?
Let's see here. We ended up with parrots. Okay.
Yeah, we finished parrots.
Okay. We will help you to discuss in a mood of cooperative search for truth, rather than competitive bid to beat each other. And the quote, when both parties desire to win by establishing their own opinion with proofs and arguments, and by refuting the opponent's view with circumvention, false generalization, and syllogistic fault, it is called jalpa. When one party refutes the opponent's view by the above means without establishing his own opinion, it is called vitanda. These two types of debate with a desire to win simply display skill in debating and bear no result. That discussion having a desire for truth is called vada. Being outstanding for being fruitful in determining truth, vada is my vibhuti. SVCT commentary, Bhagavad Gita 10:32. What's SVCT?
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti.
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, so Prabhupada talks a little about it in that verse where, you know, of logicians I am the conclusive truth. Prabhupada says that, but you know, he's expanded on it there, Vishwanath Thakur. So yeah, I mean, Prabhupada writes in the teachings of Lord Kapila, Krishna consciousness is not a debate club. You know, it's not about debating. What we're trying to do really is assist each other, you know, to try and get to the truth. And for that to happen, we also have to be open to the possibility that our own understanding may need revision, which I found often occurs. Things can change in the course of the discussion. Your own understanding can evolve. So it requires a little open-mindedness, and the ability to be helpful. And when someone states something which we really disagree with, to not respond in that kind of way, as my wife was saying earlier, that, well, where'd you get that from? I mean, that's completely crazy, or that's not what Prabhupada meant at all, that kind of thing. I mean, any kind of negative response shuts down the communication and the discussion, and it just won't bring out the magic of Prabhupada's books. So it's very important that we bear in mind, not to try and debate in this kind of way. I don't know if my wife wants to add anything to that.
Yeah.
You're okay with that? Does anyone else have any questions or points on that?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say one thing. Involved in that one point, there are a lot of the useful tips. I do suggest, if you'd like to do this, it'll make it much easier for you and for us if you go through the useful tips, because then you'll know what it is that we're nudging you towards. But that one thing that we're going to help discuss cooperatively, that includes a lot of them. For example, on nonverbal communication, we close down someone's thinking just by bad nonverbals, our body turned away, looking bored, and or having a passive face. I know myself, when my face is passive, it looks bored, and I have to remind myself in a discussion not to do that. And also failing to encourage, failing to validate. If someone speaks, I don't know if you have this experience, if you speak and you kind of open up your heart or your thoughts, and everyone just looks at you, it's like, oh, what's going on? So involved in that is validating. So, that's a really nice point. Thank you. Let me reflect back. So there's so much involved in discussing cooperatively, but we've just tried to put that in a nutshell. And for further breakdown, I think lots of points covered this in the useful tips.
Thanks. So should we look at this last point now, to this end? Shall I read this one? To this end, we will encourage you to assist each other in understanding Shastra by empathic hearing and encouragement. And here's the quotation. Generally, by myself, I cannot give an explanation, but by the strength of your association, something may manifest itself. Now, due to your association, another meaning has awakened. It is due to your devotional service that these waves of meaning are arising. Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami in the Madhya Lila 24:9 and 312. Yeah, we thought those were relevant. That episode with the Lord when he's instructing Sanatana Goswami, and he says that just by your association, it's enabling me to go more deeply into the subject and bring things out. And at one point he goes completely into talking about the opulence of Krishna, very wonderfully. So I hadn't been expecting to say this. I wasn't, this wasn't my intention, but because of your association, it's come out, So it's quite a wonderful thing. We thought that was relevant to this. Yeah, did you want to say something, Cintamani?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to. As I was saying, at least earlier, that we didn't set out to come up with a system. We were just trying to save ourselves. And when we first began discussing, it took us 5 years to change our discussion patterns and habits completely. We'd change a little at a time, and things would still go wrong. And then we would have Prabhupada on, or we'd have a lecture on, and think, oh, let's try what he just said. And slowly it changed. So we changed a lot, but somehow or other in our discussions, maybe it was our body language, maybe it was, anyway, it was something, we'd keep closing each other down. And it was quite unpleasant for both of us. There was a lot of inadvertent, if you like, just passive aggressive, just maybe just showing disinterest, you know. And when we heard this, we're thinking, what was going on between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatana? What was Sanatana doing? Because that's the exact opposite effect that we have. Instead of wanting to say more, we just feel like saying, okay, I don't want to say any more. Thank you. Let's just stop the discussion. So what are they doing right that we're doing wrong? And around the same time, Mukunda Maharaj had suggested that we read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And you may have read it because it was doing the rounds in ISKCON at some point. And just coincidentally or by divine arrangement, we were at that about the power of empathic hearing. And he talked about the different types of hearing. And he had this little passage that we have on the website about how empathic hearing, when it's done really with the heart and with your intention to really help the person, gives the person psychological air. And we thought, okay, we're not sure what Sanatana Goswami was doing for Lord Chaitanya, but let's try helping each other get the same effect. And we found that instead of shutting each other down constantly, we began opening each other up to our mutual benefit. Both of us benefited by allowing each of us to think more. So then we incorporated that as one of our discussion habits.
Excellent. So at just the end of the document, there's a few things that we request from you, if this is possible, to commit to the sessions and to be on time, which you are doing very nicely, thank you. Because it's going to be systematic. We're going to try and develop the training in a systematic way. So if it's okay with you, I mean, we're doing at the moment twice a week, and I don't know if you're able to sustain that, but we're able to. We're happy to if you would like to. We can arrange each week the right day, which is convenient. Mondays and Fridays work quite well for us. We're able to do that. I don't know about how you're situated, but if that's too much, we could just try for once a week. But yeah, it'll take longer, obviously. So that's one thing. Did you want to say anything on that, Cintamani? The next one is, sorry, that's fine. Be open to learning and changing habits. We've been talking about that. And then this last point, you put this one there, Cintamani. Do you want to say this one?
Would someone else like to read it?
Sure. Do you want to read that, Maharaj?
Yeah. We will always try to speak gently and encouragingly, but we realize that sometimes in a learning environment, you may be triggered. Therefore, we ask that you give us feedback where necessary and how we can better serve you in our efforts to teach you the principles.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to say something on this. My husband was the family maintainer. So while he was busy maintaining the family, this has saved my life. I was busy sharing it with as many devotees around the manor as I possibly could. So I have more experience and I think my nature is more that kind of, he's very good at administrating, which I can't do for the life of me. But I think it might also be my nature to teach, because that's when I'm in my zone, so to speak. But up to now, I've only taught peers or devotees who consider me senior to them. And I've veered away from trying to share it with devotees who are my seniors, mainly because I found that it's an uncomfortable dynamic for everyone. And and also because Lord Chaitanya chastised Sanatana Goswami, chastised Jagadananda Pandit for giving Sanatana Goswami solicited advice. Sanatana had solicited Jagadananda Pandit's advice, or vice versa, beg your pardon. Sanatana had solicited Jagadananda. Oh, Raghunath, was it? Anyway,
it was Sanatan. He asked Jagadananda, I'm thinking of going to Vrindavan. What do you think about that?
Yes.
And then
And Jagadananda had given his solicited, he'd given his advice, and Lord Chaitanya was furious that you're just an aparadi. So I thought, steer away from sharing with devotees who are seniors, because the best intention is uncomfortable for them, it's uncomfortable for me, and I'm just committing offenses which are going to ruin my spiritual life. So I kind of got my heart in my mouth over this. I feel very anxious about it, but we were talking about it, and we realized that we can't take it to the senior, echelons of ISKCON. We're going to have to pass it on to someone who can then pass it on to higher and higher than us, to those who actually make the decisions in ISKCON, because certainly we don't have that kind of access. So we thought, well, if someone senior to us is willing for us to share this with them, let's risk the offense and just pass it on. But it is very frightening for me personally if I'm the one that ends up doing it. I mean, it's up to my husband whether he feels like doing it. And I would suggest we don't do it at an open group, a small group, with just people who would feel comfortable being corrected in front of each other. And I would beg you, forgive my offenses, and I would beg you, give me private feedback if I've any way overstepped the mark. Because when I start coaching, I see that the teacher in me comes out, and I will correct. I always try to do it encouragingly and nicely, but that comes out, and it may be completely inappropriate. Like for me, I would be absolutely terrified to do that with Chandrasekhar Swami, because I think I would be literally having anxiety. So I just want to really say that, because I'm still not sure if this is worth the risk, if the benefit that might come from it is worth the risk to my spiritual life. So I decided to reveal my heart there a little bit.
Thank you very much.
I think it's worth the risk.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful process. It's so enjoyable when we do it together. And she's very good at, I mean, it's just picking up on the little things that we make mistakes in, and it makes all the difference actually in the discussion. And she keeps us on track and that kind of thing. So
you can't change all the habits in one go. You just can't, and I wouldn't even try. So there may be some habits that I just ignore, but I will come to them eventually. So you might think, well, she was quite okay with that 2 weeks ago. Why is she now picking up on it? It's just because I chose to ignore it earlier. There were other more pressing habits I wanted to change, but I will get to them all eventually. So yeah.
Okay, so we've actually gone through that document, so we're ready to really begin. Oh, sorry, Vrinda, go ahead.
With what Cintamani has just shared about the dynamics that could be happening, and the correcting that could be going on, is it okay for newcomers to keep joining this group?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think I would be happy to do it separately with them. I think devotees of a similar kind of like seniority should do it together. And because it's uncomfortable, I'd feel uncomfortable. I just would feel really difficult to correct someone who's obviously very senior, and in front of someone who's new, maybe see them as a senior devotee. I don't think I could do it. But I'm happy, whoever wants to do it, I'm happy to do it in separate sessions. But just in a session where you feel the most comfortable it's possible to be corrected by someone who's your junior, which I am, and I recognize that very much so.
Yeah, I apologize, Marge. When you said, is it okay for others to join, I just assumed.
Not in this session. That's okay, this session, but
yeah, in this
not
session
in the
it's
training
fine,
sessions.
Ongoing, yeah, I'd assumed you'd meant other SABHA members, and that I should have clarified. I apologize for that. I should have clarified. But yeah, right now it's fine, but I think as we go forward with the training, we should, just try and keep it in a small group, especially if the others join as well. You know, the Parabhakti and Sumitra. It also becomes a problem with the numbers. I think there'll be 5. That's pretty much as many as we can cope with.
May I suggest that we do 2 and 3 if there's 5 people? Because it's a lot. And especially, it's 5 is fine once everyone's really got good discussion habits, then it flows. But if everyone's making, mistakes, and it just becomes, I think 2 and 3. If you've got 5 people, if you've got 4 people, 2 and 2, so you can get personalized. And that's how I would suggest you go forward.
We could do that. So if sorry, Marge, go ahead.
Well, I just have a question then. So we're doing 2 things in one case. We're doing kind of like meta communication. In other words, we are discussing how to discuss, and then we're actually doing the discussing itself. Am I correct there?
Yeah, absolutely, Maharaj. In the coaching sessions, you'll be discussing, but every once in a while, and initially maybe more, I'll be stopping and doing some meta discussion, talking about the discussion process. To change their discussion habits. But you're absolutely right. Thank you for allowing me to clarify this.
So let's stop now unless there's any further questions. So then we're just about at 3:30. So next time we'll come back and do the Gita. We'll start with Bhagavad Gita 1:1. And it's absolutely incredible. The first couple of sentences on that purport in when you unpack them, what comes out of them, it's like we've been astonished by it. My wife wrote a whole essay on that, actually, which is on Dandavats. But we'll come to that. I think you'll find it very enjoyable. So I propose maybe, I don't know, this week, if you're available, we could do it on Friday again in the afternoon. If not, then we can perhaps leave it till next week. I don't know. It seemed to work last week. Is Friday any good?
Friday's fine for me. Fridays and Mondays are fine for me.
Okay, so let's try and stick to that then.
So going forward then, if I understand correctly, I shouldn't invite anyone other than SABHA members. But is it okay to post this so that those who want to,
if you feel comfortable,
I feel
comfortable,
that's fine.
Then people can see them.
Suggest, if other SABHA members want to join, may I humbly suggest that you make groups of SABHA members, so it's 2 similar ranking and similar ranking. So I know, for example, there's some Gurukulis or adult Gurukulis in the SABHA. I wouldn't put them in the same group, because as kind as you are now to say it's worth it, I'm very, very aware that it becomes uncomfortable to be corrected and changed and stopped in front of someone. So I just like to remove as much of the anxiety I have around this as possible, and as much of the discomfort to you that it may cause as possible, by keeping similar ranking and similar,
All right, well, let's see how many more show interest, and then we can decide how to, split the groups and things. But for the time being, we've got the 4 Chandrasekhar Swami Vrinda, Parabhakti, and Sumitra, and us 2. And it's unlikely we'll all turn up together on the same day. But let's see. If we do, then we'll split into 2 groups. You can go with 2, and I'll go with the other 2. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, then, Maharaj and Prabhu.
All right. Thank you all very much, too. I'm looking forward. So I'll post this after it gets churned over by YouTube, by Zoom, and put it on YouTube. All right. Thank you
very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
See you on Friday. Hare Krishna.
All right.